This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouse, and today we're going to do another simple little cook with the Black Flag seasoning mix and the barbecue. I enjoyed the burnt ends so much that I wanted to get right back on it and try this again. And after eating those, I thought that this is going to make a really good combination for some grilled chicken. Now, normally I don't do my chicken at a low smoking temperature anymore because I just don't like the way the skin turns out. There is a lot of hacks for that. Some people use baking soda and some people have different little techniques. But the way I get around the skin consistency is by cooking it above 325. If you cook it below, I find that unless you have some trick, that you're just gonna get rubbery skin no matter what you do. So the first thing that I did was I brined my chicken. Now here's a picture. I got up early this morning and I mixed water with some salt and some of the rub seasoning. And then I poured it in on the chicken and tossed it in the refrigerator. Now, I would actually recommend that you do this overnight to make sure that you get a complete process. So the brine is working through a process called osmosis. It sucks the liquids out of the chicken and then reverses the process to balance out the fluid between the inside of the chicken and the outside. That gives me a moist piece of chicken almost every time, and I find that it really works well with turkey. And of course it works good with chicken. I don't always do it with small pieces, but in this case I wanted to show you. I mixed 4 cups of water with 1/4 cup of non-iodized salt and 1/4 cup of the seasoning mix. You could go heavier or lighter on the seasoning mix, but you really need to be in the 1 gallon to 1 cup range on the brine for it to work properly. I went ahead and let it rest, and then I just pulled it out of the refrigerator a few minutes ago. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pull this out of the bag and let it rest for a minute. So I grabbed some paper towels, and the goal here is to dry the chicken out as much as possible. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and flip it over. And you can see that some of the spice mix is stuck. It doesn't particularly stick very well to the skin itself. We'll go ahead and pat that dry. And of course, we're most concerned about the skin side. And I'm going to sprinkle some of this on there, and I didn't bring my shaker out. So I shake a little bit on there, and then I'm going to go ahead and pat it down. Now I'm going to try not to set this right in the middle of the plate. I'm going to try to set it up on the edges just a little bit, because a little bit of the water from the skin will drip down there. And then we're going to repat the top and take our time doing that. The idea is that we want it to get a little tacky. It's drying up really well. Go ahead and show you that. And I don't know if you can tell how dry it is, but I'll get it in the light here. And that's really absolutely perfect. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you there so you can get a good look at it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up and take a look at it. We did go ahead and preheat. Going to warm this up a little bit, and I just brushed off the grill grate. Then I'm going to add another piece of tin foil in here underneath our cooking area. I kind of bent the corners to create a little bit of a funnel effect. And then right over the edge, so it will drip right into the oil pan below. I'm going to go ahead and set that back in place. And then, like always, I have my grill mat. I'll go ahead and set these on there. You can get a good look there. I position them directly over the foil, so that way as they drip, it'll get on the foil, and then I can just throw the foil away. Easy cleanup. Go ahead and close this. Now, what I did is that I preheated the smoker on the smoke setting. So we're not talking about a high setting. I want it to smoke for a little while. I'm going for about 15 minutes on the low temperature, and then I'm going to crank it up to 350. Now, there will be a little bit of a transition, and right there where that transition is where you have to watch the smoker closely and make sure that the pellets don't go out. I noticed that at low temperatures, especially when it's cool outside, that this smoker has a hard time balancing out its temperature and its feed rate. But at high temperatures, it appears to work great. Or at the smoke setting, it appears to work great. So it's right there in that 200 to 225 range, or during the transition. We'll be back in 15 minutes for me and 1 second for you. It has been about 14 minutes. I know I said 15, but I got in a little bit of a hurry. The reason I come back early was because I wanted to point two things out to you. First, I wanted to show you that you can clearly see the smoke on the smoke setting. And now that that is going, I'm going to open this real quick. And there's what you see there. I put the temperature probe in the grill mat, not touching the metal, next to it, so I could see exactly what the temperature is on the surface. Right now it's running about 120. I think it would go up just a little bit more, but when you open the door, it kind of lets out all the heat. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kick that all the way up to about 325. Okay, we'll settle at 326. I'm going to talk about something real quick here. I went ahead and I put some pellets in there. You see that the pellets are almost gone. And when you get down to the bottom, you need to be really careful about that, because there's a lot of sawdust in there, because a lot of the pellets will break and just turn into dust. Now that sawdust is useful for other things, like for sawdust tray, or to use in with one of the wood chip pans. It can be burned in there as a fast burn, but it won't work very well in here. It'll actually put the fire out if you dump a bunch of sawdust on top of the pellets while they're burning. It could smother them. And we don't want to do that. So what I'll do is I'll open this up the rest of the way, give this a little shake, and try to get all that sawdust down to the bottom. And then by hand, take out the last of the pellets. And if you leave a few of them in there, I'd rather err on leaving some pellets in there and not having a bunch of sawdust in the hopper. I'll go ahead and do that in a minute while I make sure that this has a successful transition in temperature. I'm just going to sit here for the next 15 minutes and babysit this thing. And then we'll come back when it's time to flip the chicken thighs over. We are going along great here, and I went ahead and bumped up the temperature a little bit. So the reason that I put the probe in the grill mat is so that way I could see the temperature at grill level. That temperature is 327, but it was at about 310. So what I did was I slowly increased the temperature on the pellet grill until I got to where I wanted. The setting temperature is 350, so we have about a 25-degree variance between the two. You'll kind of get this down over time and figure it out with or without the thermometer. You'll know your grill is just not that hot, or it's too hot. It all runs from grill to grill. One thermometer can be one temperature and another could be another. That's why I recommend any modification, you should first consider adding a couple of thermometers to the case somehow, like right here in the middle where you'll be cooking a lot. Now I have a little trick. I'm going to flip the chicken, but I don't want it to stick to the grill mat or anything. So I'm going to use a piece of parchment paper temporarily when I flip it. Now once it's completely cooked up and everything, it won't be necessary because the chicken skin will be really tight. But for this first flip, we definitely want to do something to help prevent it from sticking. Now this parchment paper has a slicker side, and where the silicone is a little bit heavier, I believe it's applied to that side, and it will be, it's hard to tell, you have to look at it real careful, especially on the cheap stuff I buy, but I think it's this side right here. And then I grab the fresh grill mat just because I want to make it easy. So I'll come in here, I'll remove the probe, and the probe is going to be really hot. Just going to set that aside for now. Move this over. Set down my new grill mat and that there. Sometimes I forget that when you're doing temperatures that are higher than 275, that you really need some kind of utensils because it just gets too hot to handle. I'm used to doing a lot of smoking, and my top temperature on a full smoke would be 275. I wouldn't go much above that no matter what. I'm just going to go ahead and use these tongs here and slowly grab each one of these pieces and flip it over. I'm going to go ahead and put the probe right back in there. So it's just sitting right in there. And then in about 15 minutes, I'm going to insert the probe into the thickest piece of chicken. But I want to give it a minute or two to set up before I do that. I don't like to have the probe in the chicken when I'm cooking until I get closer to the done point, because it's just a hassle to deal with the wire and everything. So if I leave it out until I get closer to where I know it's done, then I can insert it for the last 15 minutes and I don't have to drag it around while I'm flipping the chicken. We're going to go for another 15 minutes and that'll be 1 second for you. So I brought out my instant read thermometer, and if you don't have a probe thermometer, which these are very budget friendly by the way, then what you should do is you should get yourself a Thermal Pro instant read thermometer. These things are super cheap. This is my third one. I gave one away with one of the smokers that I sold. I gave one to my stepdaughter, and this is the other one. The one I gave my stepdaughter I actually broke, but it still works just fine. It just doesn't fold right. So I'm going to go ahead and take a reading. I did right after I turned the camera off last time. Okay, we don't need to flip this. We're ready to go straight into the bag with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop of barbecue sauce in here. And of course, you can use a brush. Then, I'm going to go to the side here and set the bag on the table. And then we'll just drop these in there. Really nice how the skin didn't stick at all. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Keep the temperature consistent. I'm going to seal that bag up, and I want a little bit of air in there. I don't want a lot. Now, I'm going to tumble it. Keep it over a surface. If the bag were to break or to come open, we don't want our food to drop on the ground. So by doing it right here, even if it broke, I would be able to recover the food with no problem. Or something else that I find works really good is a cookie sheet. I do the same thing when I'm marinating or anything like that. I just use Ziploc bags for everything. Makes cleanup easy. A little more barbecue sauce. There we go. Let that set for a second while I get this ready. So I'm going to go ahead and take this grill mat out because it's mostly clean and I really don't want to get it all messy. I'll just set it here for now until it cools down. And then we'll take this grill mat and move it back into place. So it's directly lined up over the foil. So there you go, just like that, and we're going to let that set in. So the temperature is good right now, so the smaller piece is definitely safe to eat. But I just want the barbecue sauce to set up for a few minutes, and then this chicken will be done. Now I'm going to go ahead and rest it when I'm done in the sous vide until dinner time, which is going to be a little more than an hour at 145 degrees. But that way it'll be food safe in a nice place where it won't dry out. I'll be back in 5 minutes. That'll be 1 second for you. So it should be time to go ahead and try one of these. I'm going to go ahead and open this up and grab the smallest one. This one right here. And the barbecue sauce is just set up, so it is perfect for what we're going for. Gonna check this really quick. Oh, that looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave that there and let the bigger pieces go for another minute. Come up here and give you a little look. All right, there's a little bit of color there. It's not a true smoke ring, but it's on the bottom side where there's no skin. So you see a little bit of that smoky color, that pink that you're looking for. Between the rub and the barbecue, that is really good. The barbecue sauce has this just backside of garlic that's hard to explain. It tastes like fresh garlic, but it doesn't have the bitterness. So I don't know exactly how he achieves that without getting that bitterness. But when I make homemade barbecue sauce or rub and I put fresh garlic in it, I always have that little bitterness to the back of it. So that is great, especially if you love garlic. Now, he recommended this was his best one, and that's the owner is Scott. In my other video for the Poor Man's Burn-Ins, where I first did this, I have a little clip from him, but it's not much of an eventful clip. I did all the talking, and so you already hear all that all the time, so you don't want to hear any more of that. But I'm going to go ahead and try another bite of this. That is great. I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them in the bag that I use to barbecue sauce them and toss them in the sous vide until dinner time, which will be more than an hour. But this will be my late lunch right here. So if you saw anything you like in the video, including the barbecue sauce, the links will be below, and there's the card for Scott there. And his website is theblackflagflavor.com. And like I said, it was great on the burn-ins, but it's even better on the chicken. So it's just that garlic in the back without having that bitter burns, just great. Thanks for watching. Also, there's affiliate links if you saw anything you like in this video. Have a great day.